Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about a recent news coming from the Middle East region where the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has declared a ceasefire deal with the Hezbollah, which has till now been concerned or considered as an arch enemy of the state of Israel. So let us try to understand about the nitty-gritty of this particular deal. So first of all, to understand, the PM has himself agreed to a ceasefire agreement with Hezbollah that is situated in the Lebanon, and in a statement after the meeting with his security cabinet, the ceasefire deal with Hezbollah in Lebanon, Netanyahu has clearly stated that Hezbollah is not the same anymore. Obviously, he is referring to because of continuous attack and the assassination of the leaders carried out by the Israel. Obviously, he is trying to hint that Hezbollah has lost its strength that it was a year back, and that Israel has pushed the group not only years back but even decades back in terms of the degradation of its capabilities, capacities and the leadership is concerned. Now under the deal, he said that any attempts, if it is again made by the Hezbollah to rearm, will be considered as the violation of the deal, and in that case Israel will have a right to respond severely with force. Israeli leader also have acknowledged his concern that the ceasefire might limit Israel's ability to re-enter Lebanon whenever it feels necessary. So in other terms, we can understand the deal is something that restricts or limits the possibility of confrontation between both Israel and Lebanon that can be started from the either side. Now in this context, if you look at the ceasefire, that what is the overall detail of the ceasefire? Now first we have to understand that the deal has not been published in public, but principally the deal mimics UNSC resolution that is called as 1701, UNSC resolution 1701, that was adopted in the 2006 after the conflict. So let us try to understand on the map of Middle East what the ceasefire agreement largely states. So first, if you look at the map here, we have a river that is flowing in the southern part of Lebanon that is called as Litani River. So as per the ceasefire agreement, the Hezbollah group have to retreat to the north of this Litani River, who are currently, if talk about Hezbollah, is present in this shaded areas. So that is the first part of it. Second, as far as the Israeli defense forces are concerned, as per the agreement, they will have to retreat to the south of the blue line border. The blue line border is this one, as we can see from here, which has been given and accepted by the United Nations. So the Hezbollah have to retreat to the north of Litani border. Blue line border is where to the south of which IDF has to retreat. This is the two major principal agreement of the deal. And in this areas, that is a kind of buffer zone, we can say, is where the UNIFIL will be operating. UNIFIL is basically United Nations led forces, which are largely a peacekeeping forces. So that is what we can understand is the main part of the deal. If you look at this at the blue area zone, we can see that most of the center here that is shown in orange are where the Lebanese population are residing. And along the border of this blue line is the red dots that you see is where you have the Israeli population centers. So basically a large part of Lebanese population center, its protection, its what we can call as the maintenance will come under the jurisdiction and domain of UNIFIL, that is UN led forces. If you try to understand more about this deal, basically this retreatment has to happen within the 60 days from their respective positions, and a new novel features that has been added in this deal, which was not present in what we can call as the 2006 UNSC resolution, is that the addition of United States and France has been done in the tripartite mechanism of Lebanon, Israel and UNIFIL that oversee the implementation of the resolution. Notably, it does not call for a complete disarmament either of Hezbollah in Lebanon or any of the groups operating in the Lebanese territory. Israel proclaimed, however, that it retains the right to strike again if Hezbollah violates the agreement, which something Lebanese government has rejected categorically. So again, this is the same thing we have discussed the overall terms of the deal. Now, the question that is being asked is why Israel has agreed to such a kind of ceasefire agreement. The answer can be understood by the three these points mentioned by the Benjamin Netanyahu. He has mentioned the one reason behind this deal is that he wants to focus on the Iran, which in the recent time had joined the forces with Lebanon to carry out strikes and attacks against Israel directly. Obviously, it has been supporting indirectly Lebanon and many such proxy groups across the region against the state of Israel, which it considers is a illegitimate state. Second, he also said that it will give Israeli forces a kind of breather, and it will help in replenishing of the stocks that they have lost during the 1 year, more than a 1 year of struggle or the fight, that we can say. And third, he said that he also wanted to separate the two groups. One is the Hamas, which is the major terrorist group as has been declared by the Israel, and the Hezbollah, by taking one of them out of the war, because currently both Hezbollah and Hamas has been continuously engaged in the rocket attacks, missile attacks, artillery strikes and all that. So it will also help Israel and especially Israeli population to have a sense of relief from a prolonged protracted war. Indeed, Hezbollah had opened a parallel front to support Hamas, as I discussed before, just days after the latest terrorist attack that happened in October 7, 2023, and the beginning of Israel's bombardment of Gaza also coincides with the same timeline. So this is the official reason as has been given by the Benjamin Netanyahu. But many political experts and international relationship experts argue that this is not the only reason. There are several other reasons and factors that might have contributed behind the ceasefire agreement being accepted by the Israel. So first of all, the political experts argue that there has already been a mild fracture that we have been witnessing in the Israel's civil military framework, and this can be proven or evident from the statement given by the former defense minister of Israel, that is Yoav Gallant. Yoav Gallant, along with the IDF chief of the staffs also, had been pressing for a ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon for quite a few months because of his continuous disagreement with the Benjamin Netanyahu, where he has also questioned his political and military objective. Not only that, the Yoav Gallant was the one who also has vociferously called for clarity on the day after plan from the government. He has been removed, he has been basically fired from his job, but it seems that though Gallant is gone, his thinking is something that is retained by the IDF top brass, and it has prevailed to some degree in them. Thus, it is not only the Netanyahu who might have accepted deal, he had to accept because of the demand that might be rising from the IDF headquarters as well as the political circles. So, apart from this, other reason we can quote is because Israel's experience of fighting in Lebanon has not been tactically effective. It has been tactically effective, but it has been kind of strategically bitter, we can say. A long-term military presence in Lebanon is believed to severely wear down the IDF that can actually counter its counter-terrorism operation that generally carries out, or its future fighting capabilities and abilities. And that is why a breather was required so that IDF can recoup and regain its strength. Now, continued Israeli presence in the South Lebanon would also be inimical to the interest of Israel. The reason is because due to continuous bombardment of Lebanon, now Hezbollah is being considered as a savior of the people of Lebanon. And this is something that Israel does not want, because Hezbollah itself has been facing a lot of domestic resistance by the Lebanese people, and that is why, to ensure that such a strong support does not arise again, this is also a good step. Its most extensive bombardment of Israel, if we talk about, that had just carried out with 250 rockets, occurred less than 2 days before the ceasefire. That means even after 1 year of continuous fighting, even after killings of multiple of the leaders of Hezbollah and its cadres, we can see that the strength of Hezbollah has not declined to such an extent that it can stop or cease fighting against Israel or carrying out rocket strikes against Israel. So, taking these into consideration, it made sense for the Israeli leadership to sign a ceasefire agreement for the time being. So, if you talk about what does the ceasefire basically mean for the entire region, what are going to be its implications? So, the acceptance, first of all, we have to understand, though the ceasefire agreement, we are calling it as Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire, it is basically Israel-Iran ceasefire, because the Hezbollah leader, especially you talk about the Hezbollah chief Naim Qassem, he could not have carried out a ceasefire agreement without consulting and without getting approval from the Iranian leadership. So Iran is something that Iran is someone that also can be considered as behind or as one of the architect of the ceasefire agreement, and the reason can be given by the fact that Iran no longer will have to worry about the Israeli attack, which he considered as an existential threat to its largest proxy in the region, at least momentarily. And Iran's principal objective in raising and sustaining Hezbollah is to ensure a military buffer between itself and Israel. And after the ceasefire agreement is done, obviously this buffer will be restored to its original extent. Also, Iran want to again look and wait for the Donald Trump to come in United States of America. It also is pushing for the reaching of the sanctions that has been imposed in the past governments. Now, if you talk about apart from this, if you talk from the perspective of Israel, now Israel can now ensure complete military focus on not just on Hamas in Gaza, but also other Iranian proxies in Syria, Iraq and Yemen. If you look at the map here, this is one of the largest state of Middle East that we see, that is Iran, and Iran operates many proxies that is situated in the Yemen, which has continuously engaged in the attacks on the oil tankers and ship in the Red Sea region. It operates proxies in the Iraq, where you have the Shia dominated groups. It operates proxies in the Syria, Lebanon and obviously Palestine. Now, Netanyahu's address specifically warned that the Syrian president Bashar al-Assad, who has been engaged in the civil confrontation and civil war for almost a decade, is playing with fire, and a warning has been issued to him as well. Not only that, Israel retains the option to both continue striking Iranian proxies or to meet restraint with restraint, specifically with Iran currently showing restraint, and that is being exhibited by the signing of the ceasefire agreement. So, in conclusion, what we can say that as far as the Lebanon is concerned, or Lebanon theater is concerned specifically, all elements of conflict that sparked this latest war remain. So, ceasefire agreement does not necessarily erase the problems that has been we can say is underlying problem behind the entire confrontation. Much more water has to flow down the Litani river. If you remember, Litani is the river to the north of which the Hezbollah has to withdraw before complete stability is guaranteed in Lebanon and North Israel. So, this ceasefire agreement should not be considered as a final solution to the problem that persists in the Middle East, especially related to the existence of Israel, Palestine and relation between them. It should be considered as a short gap breather which the region will receive, and again pending the final solution, especially after coming up of all the stakeholders, is only when we can think that maybe something substantial can occur in the Middle East. So, that is all about this particular video. I hope you understood about the general details and the principles underlying the Hezbollah-Israel ceasefire agreement. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with your fellow aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such helpful content. Thank you very much.